From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Inside Politics.
Hello, everyone. I'm News Channel 5's political analyst, Pat Nolan. Welcome to Inside Politics. We are honored today to have as our guest Nashville Mayor Megan Barry. Mayor, thank you so much for being on the show.
Pat, thank you.
You and your husband, Bruce, have certainly lived every parent and grandparent's nightmare the last couple of weeks with the overdose death of your son, Max. I think regardless of politics, all of Nashville has reached out to both of you to keep you in their thoughts and prayers while you continue the difficult time of grieving. The response you've gotten, I think, has been overwhelming. Even people coming up to you that are complete strangers to talk to you.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people want to talk about how this has impacted their life and how hopefully our story and sharing our story has been able to make them have frank conversations with their own children or grandchildren, and if that will save one kid, I'm grateful.
You came back to the mayor's office this week after being out to resume your regular duties. Did this turn out to be the right week to come back? Were you ready?
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody's ever ready, but we have a lot of work to do in Nashville, and I have a job to do, and so coming back to work was absolutely the right thing to do. How
difficult was your first event? It was the first day of school. You went back. You were giving out school supplies when Max's visitation was held. When his memorial service was held, there was a prominent display of all 12 days, his first days of school in Nashville. That must have been a little poignant.
It was. The first day of school for us was always kind of the beginning of the year. Bruce is an academic, so that academic calendar was always how we always looked at the beginning, and being at that first day of school was looking at this as the beginning of a new normal for us.
You mentioned the new normal in the thank you letter that you sent out through the media. Describe what how is the new normal different?
How are you having to adjust? Well, the new normal is I don't have my son, and so those times that I reach for the phone and want to call him or text him or just reach out and tell him I love him, that's the new normal.
And that's happened. You've had that. You wanted to do that.
Yeah.
You said that what you want to do now is make sure that other people that aren't in your situation have people reaching out to help them when they are in difficult situations. Is that how you see one of the roles that you're going to be playing as mayor for the next 2 years that you're in office?
Well, I think so. I mean, I think one of the things I can definitely do, because I sit in this seat, is to lend my voice to this epidemic. And I was heartened to see this week that President Trump is going to declare a national emergency as it relates to opioids. That's going to free up more federal dollars to flow into state and local municipalities to
what
fight
will that specifically mean for Nashville and Tennessee?
Well, of course, the devils are always in the details, but in theory, it will give access to Medicaid for treatment, and it will give us more treatment beds. One of the things that was discussed was a much more law and order approach. I just don't think we're going to arrest our way out of this, so I want to see the treatment, and I also want to see the deployment of Narcan across our communities.
And that should be where a lot of the federal dollars will go for those two things.
That's exactly right.
You've done a lot of interviews this week with national media outlets. You're very good at doing interviews, but usually they've been about politics and policy. This one was about personal.
Yeah.
Does that take a different kind of preparation, a more mental preparation?
It's definitely one where you're talking from your heart, and you're talking about something that impacted you personally. And again, I think Bruce said it best at Max's memorial. This counterbalance to grief is community, and having the community in Nashville has just been incredible to step up for us. But I see the community as serving the next role, and that is making sure that we are fighting this epidemic.
You are back in the office. You've learned again. If you had forgotten, and I doubt you had, what a busy city this is. What a dizzying pace of growth we're undergoing, including not too long from now the eclipse coming up. Nashville's the biggest city that will have the total solar eclipse going on here. Are we ready?
Of course. We do special events really well, and this is going to be a great way for our city to shine. I think everybody out there just needs to pray that it's not a cloudy day.
Are you working with the weather people in town to make sure that we get
I don't have that kind of pull, but clearly I think it's a really special time for Nashville. We're going to be able to shine.
And from a tourism point of view, it's on a Monday, which means Sunday night and Monday night are usually slower nights than that, so we ought to be even harder to find a hotel room in Nashville.
Yes, I think so. And then we've got a lot of folks anticipated being in town.
In terms of hotel rooms, we had Scotty Nell Hughes on last week, the Republican political analyst, and she really wants to see Nashville make a push to get the Republican convention in 2020. She says the Republican National Convention is going to committee is going to be here within a few weeks, and she said it's a great time to sell the city. Are you ready to move in that kind of direction?
We haven't been approached, or it hasn't been discussed in depth, but of course we are always actively recruiting big events to come to Nashville, and so as that unfolds, it'll be an interesting conversation.
You had a great event to attend this week when it was announced that Nashville again will be hosting 5 days a week.
We will.
Direct service to London. The first time we did that a few years ago didn't work out very well. Is it going to be different this time?
Well, that was 20 plus years ago. I think that one of the things that we are is we're a completely different city. And in this go round, I think it's a great example of being able to work with Governor Haslam and coming together with the state and Nashville, because this is good not just for Nashville, but for our whole state.
The governor thinks this is just the beginning. Asia and other places, do you feel the same way?
Well, we have an ambassador to Japan that used to be our ECD guy here. Maybe we can get that to Japan.
So you feel like at this point, even though the city and the state and I think the airport authority are putting in about $2 million to make sure the flight works, that maybe that kind of money won't be necessary to make it profitable? I
think not. I think that we're, the city is doing a stopgap, but the state is actually putting in $1 million for marketing and that.
Now, there was a brief rash of stories a few months ago about privatizing the airport. Is that something your office is still looking actively at, or was that just something that somebody wanted to come by and talk to you about?
Somebody wanted to come by and talk, and we're always interested in listening to ideas. Finding a way to fund these different projects is especially
mass transit.
Mass transit is exactly the one we were thinking about, but we're not privatizing the airport. That's not happening. That
would be a tough sell. A lot of the leaders in this community leaders in here think that the way we operate our airports with a separate authority is one of the best things we've done.
We actually have a great airport, and we're expanding that airport. We're investing in that airport, and it's going to be even better.
It may be hard to believe, but you're approaching the halfway mark of your term, almost, not quite. It'll be late September. Is that hard to believe that time flies that fast?
It is hard to believe. And I think, Pat, when we originally booked this for me to be on, was to talk specifically about the fact that we are 2 years into this administration. So again, I appreciate you making time.
Oh, absolutely. What do you see as your top accomplishments coming through the end of your second year affordable housing?
Absolutely. We've put tremendous dollars and resources into affordable housing this past budget cycle. We added $25 million in general obligation bonds, and that is on top of the $25 million that we had already allocated in just the first 2 years.
I expect this will be a short list. Any disappointments or missed opportunities?
Well, I mean, I think that there's always missed opportunities, but I have to tell you, one of the things that I'm most proud of is the fact that we put 10,000 kids to work this summer, and through our Opportunity Now program, where we heard that kids needed jobs, and companies, 350 of them in Nashville, stepped up. Private entities stepped up and helped us fund it, and gosh, again, a great sense of community for our youth.
Nashville Mayor Megan Barry is our guest on Inside Politics. Back to continue our conversation with her after you watch these messages.